dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Pergram. Today, top White House coronavirus expert Dr. Deborah Birx met with Kentucky leaders. Kentucky is one of 5 states she's visiting that has a rising positivity rate and number of cases. Dr. Birx says this spread of COVID-19 cases we're seeing now is at the household level. Now, Shelby Lofton tells us what she's recommending for the Commonwealth.
Dr. Deborah Birx's visit comes as Kentucky is declared a yellow zone. She made recommendations to Governor Beshear to reverse the summer surge. Dr. Birx says with the rising number of COVID-19 cases, she recommends Kentucky close bars, limit indoor dining, and encourage more widespread mask wearing outside and inside. Birx says currently the virus is spreading more amongst households. She encourages people to wear masks to protect vulnerable family members. She also agreed with the 10-person gathering limit, saying now is the time to stop attending large social gatherings.
We have a real call to action for every Kentuckian to wear their mask and to protect those in their families by not going to large social gatherings. And if they do, to make sure they're protecting those in their families that have substantial vulnerabilities that we know are related to obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and chronic lung, heart, or kidney disease.
Governor Beshear says we should expect to see another high number of cases with additional steps he's taking based on the recommendations. In Frankfort, Shelby Lofton, WKYT.
Now, Governor Andy Beshear provided updated COVID-19 numbers this afternoon. The governor announced 316 new cases of COVID-19. There are now 27,079 coronavirus cases in Kentucky. There were 4 new deaths today, and the death toll stands at 700. For more information on COVID-19 in Kentucky, go to our website at WYMT.com. And Governor Andy Beshear says he's prepared to take more actions to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, he specifically said if the state isn't able to get its rise in cases under control, then he'll have to shut bars back down. At the same time, he's suggesting churches move to online worship for the next few Sundays. Beshear began requiring masks 2 weeks ago, which means we should see the impact reflected in the data that comes this week. And as COVID-19 cases continue to surge, Governor Beshear recommended this week churches should hold off on in-person services. Now, one church in Lexington got creative to allow its congregation to gather while still socially distancing. David Prince, the pastor of Ashland Avenue Baptist Church, says it's important for his congregation to come together. While Prince says the church is sticking to guidelines, he does not support all of the governor's decisions.
I don't think that the governor ought to focus on churches as a single group, but rather groups. If there are recommendations related to group size and group dynamics, that's one thing. But to say, I want churches to do X, Y, or Z is to single them out, I think, in a very unhealthy way. And that's happened a few times.
Now, as for how his church will meet, Prince says it's all about being flexible and creative. They seek to bring people together, but with guidelines in check. And as coronavirus cases surge across the region, this week Governor Beshear called on churches to scale back, like we said, in-person services to help stop the spread. But some churches are continuing. And why? Well, WYMT's Lacey Roberts spoke to one pastor here in Hazard and has their answer.
To Walmart and the other businesses, which I'm not opposed to them because we need them, and I see people there and I think, why can't we if we do it right?
That is Ronnie Pennington, pastor of Petrie Memorial Baptist Church here in Hazard. Before the pandemic,
we were running close to 100.
Then switching to online services.
We did it virtually. Then when we were allowed to come back, we come back May the 24th.
Coming back to in-person services, changes were made, going to 2 services, one at 9 a.m. and one at 11 a.m. to ensure that social distancing was possible.
So there's plenty of space and everybody's separated.
And you don't have to take his word for it. You can see it. Every other pew is blocked with God at Work tape and exits marked 6 feet apart for those who want to socialize.
It just makes it easier to get through times like this. We need some kind of encouragement in the midst of all this negative junk that we got going on.
Yet earlier this week, Governor Beshear made a request.
I recommended for the next 2 Sundays with the escalating number of cases that we have, that it's a very dangerous time, and recommended that people do the virtual or the drive-up service.
Pennington says it's not about defying orders, yet worshiping God.
And that's where my side is coming from. Jesus is still the answer. And without him, we're not going to make it. If they can't come to a realization that something serious is taking place, would you be prepared if you had to meet God today?
Saying if you can go to the store or lake, you can come to church.
Person don't have to believe in them, that's their choice. But I can tell you right now, in my 47 years of ministry, 48 years as a Christian, I would not have went through some of the things I went through without him.
In Hazard, Lacey Roberts, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, due to the coronavirus pandemic, Pastor Pennington says they did cancel Sunday school classes because they could not social distance properly.
And if you're with us for Mountain News last night, we were talking about the hot weather and the scattered thunderstorms, and wouldn't you know, it's basically a carbon copy out there as we head to Sunday evening. There's the National Weather Service in Jackson. You can actually see some of those thunderheads trying to pop up there on the left side of your screen. They're sitting at 89 because they have yet to see the rain, I should say, but it feels closer to 91. That dew point out there at 66 is not terrible, but it is still quite muggy for most of us. We're sitting at 90 here in Hazard, where they have seen the rain, 80 in Pikeville, and 79 over in Williamsburg, but we factor in the humidity, it feels closer to 99 up in Ashland, 96 in Prestonsburg. For the rest of us, a little cooler thanks to these scattered showers and storms that have been bubbling up. We've actually seen a few, especially in other parts of the region, get a little bit frisky out there as we head especially over towards McCreary County. So we'll have the details on that and storm chances into the beginning of the new work week coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Evan. Well, the Leslie County Sheriff's Office has issued a warning about suspicious packages. It has been reported that the packages could contain masks or seeds. The Sheriff's Office asks you to not plant the seeds if you receive one, and put the package in a Ziploc bag and wash your hands immediately. Multiple states have opened investigations into the packages, and if you receive these packages, please call the USDA to make a report at 1-800-877-3835. And parking issues in downtown Hazard could be a thing of the past. Well, city officials announced plans to restripe diagonal parking sections along Main Street to make way for a lively and safe environment for everyone. This plan is something that Hazard Mayor Happy Mobilini says has been a priority for both he and the city for quite some time.
We're trying to figure out a way to try to bring a little bit more life back to the Main Street here. But we're trying to add more parking. So what we're going back to is the way that used to. I don't know when they changed it. No, when I was growing up, and everybody watching this, when you were growing up, you could only park on one side of the street, and it was diagonal. And we're going to start from right here at the foundation and probably go all the way up to First Baptist Church.
Now, Mobilini also says that the project is set to begin this week with hopes to be completed within the next 2 weeks. And we've brought you stories of festivals across our region canceling due to COVID-19 concerns. Manchester Music Fest announced the cancellation of its event, and WYMT's Dakota Makris spoke with the president of the festival and has more.
A quiet street outside of the Clay County Administration Building. In late August, the Manchester Music Fest planned to have the street full of vendors and live music.
Due to the fact that nobody has any kind of entertainment. And realistically, what Manchester Music Fest wanted to do was be the blueprint on how to do a safe and entertaining festival.
Part of that blueprint included 85 volunteers who made sure areas were clean and disinfected.
We were going to be really strict on our policies as far as social distancing, masks, and everything that the governor had. Hand sanitizers. We was going to spray our concert railing every 20 minutes.
Back in June, leaders continued with their plans to hold a festival, but with the surge of COVID-19 cases, the festival was canceled.
There was a lot of people on both sides of the spectrum. A lot of people wanted to have the show. A lot of people was afraid to have the show.
Manchester Music Fest president Tim Parks says with the surge of COVID-19 cases, it was best to cancel for the safety of festival goers.
There's a lot of people afraid, and there is a real virus out there. So out of respect and for those people, we decided it was the best move to make.
Hoping to continue the tradition next year.
We'll come back better than ever.
In Clay County, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the music festival was originally planned to take place August 27th through the 29th. Well, most people throughout the mountains know John Noble as Breathitt County boys head basketball coach. But Appalachian Mountain Wrestling is shining a light on a different side of him, putting together an 8-part documentary called John Noble 1090 about his 23-year wrestling career, his career as a coach, and his faith.
Yeah, we're hoping that the people that know him just as John Noble, the basketball coach, or local figure in sports around here that might not know he wrestles, because you believe it or not, there's a lot of people that, hey, I didn't know he did that. We're hoping that it'll bring eyes to our streaming network and to our wrestling promotion as well.
Now, the first and second part of the documentary will air tonight at 8 on Appalachian Mountain Wrestling Network. And WYMT's Camille Gear will have more on the docuseries tonight at 11. Well, coming up on Mountain News Weekend Edition, find out how the U.S. military is responding to an increase of COVID-19 cases on bases.
And warm temperatures and scattered storms have been the theme of this weekend, and they look to linger into the new work week. I'll have all those details coming up next.